Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Building Yavin in Lego. Now if this is your first time here, you have to pause this video and you have to go back and watch episode 1. That will give you a breakdown and an introduction to what we're setting out to do here, give you a little bit of context as to what Yavin is, and of course how this mock is going to shape itself over the upcoming months. So since last week we've had one addition to this table, and that's simply just a resistance X-Wing, which technically doesn't even belong on Yavin, but I like to stretch the rules a little bit. I'm not really confining myself to just the New Hope version or the Andor version or anything from really canon or Legends or anything. So this is really a diorama that will host all sorts of Easter eggs from different versions of Yavin. Now you can see that here I've set out some trees. Some of you who have got sharp enough eyes might notice that these are from Hogwarts. I did just go ahead and steal them, and the reason being is because we're going to be starting over here in this corner for this week. Now last week I mentioned that we were going to be potentially building some stairs that lead up from the forest out to the main tarmac that were going to be over there, but I've had to think over it, and I'm thinking that maybe that side will have 2 of them and there will be 1 more over here because I really want to show that there are multiple access points all around this area. So we're going to start here in this sort of confined section. Now I said that I was going to make this entire mock modular. When it comes to the large gray base plates, each of those will be its own section, but because we've got a little bit of a funny combination, especially here in the corner, this section is probably going to be these sort of 6 base plates, or 3 regular and 3 half base plates. So we're going to be focusing over here. We're going to be making a sort of central stairway that leads up towards where the Millennium Falcon will be parked, and we're going to be working on either side to start creating that jungle, and especially the transition between the forest and the main tarmac. So let's jump into it. But of course, no Lego mock is complete without the traditional offering of a Lego haul to start it all off. So that's what we have. 5 Lego boxes from the Brick wall from the Lego store that I got over the summer, and they've been sitting on my shelves for 2 months. I honestly forget what's in them. So let's unbox them, give you a quick tour of the pieces that I was able to acquire, and let's get some building done. All right, so first box of 5. Let's open it up really quickly. Oh, okay, so in here we have plates. So first box open, and in here we have some dark gray plates, we have some green plates, we have a mishmash of various tiles, we have some masonry bricks just tightly packed in here, as well as some transparent clear panel pieces as well. I really love these new Pick-a-Brick boxes. I think the cups, while they were really cool and iconic, it was a pain in the butt to get anything rectangular into them, and frankly you were kind of screwed, let's not lie. Next up, we have some more dark gray plates, some more green plates. I'm pretty sure there are some light gray plates down in here as well. So I was really trying to pack everything as tightly as possible. So it's going to be a pain in the butt to actually remove all of these. But for example, this is a stack of probably about 8 to 10 of these 4x4 green plates. There are in just all the other gaps just various tiles. So we have quite a lot of 2x2 dark tan tiles, which I'm really hoping are going to be useful when it comes to the temple, as well as creating all of the paths. And then we have some regular tan 2x2 jumper plates as well. A personal favorite of mine, this is a box entirely full of 2x2 dark tan tiles. This is going to be a dream to work with. I cannot wait to get started on this whole trail network that's going to be in and around the entire mock. Second last to go, we have some more plates. Pretty boring, we'll go on. Last but not least, we have my favorite box, an entire cardboard box full of these new fern pieces that Lego released in the last few years. Now they are all dark green. To be fair, I would like to get my hands on some other colors as time goes on, but I'm thinking as it comes to doing the forest floor and even some of the trees, this is what's really going to sell it. I think one of the things that we're missing from my Hogwarts mock, and that wasn't a jungle to be fair, but it was relatively flat in terms of the terrain, so I'm hoping that we can bring some dimension by absolutely covering the forest floor with these. So while it doesn't look like a ton right here in this picture, there are roughly about 2,000 to 3,000 pieces that we're looking at right here, and this is going to get us a long way in sort of just acquiring enough of those basic pieces to do things with detail. That's something that I found I've been lacking in the past, is I'm trying to do something and I run out of that crucial piece. So hopefully now with the 500 or whatever of these dark tan tiles, we'll get somewhere and we'll get pretty far with it. All right, so let me walk you through what I've done right here. I've just spent a little bit of time trying to lay out what this area might look like, and it's sort of supposed to be a template for the rest of the mock. Now, I said this in last week's video, but I'll reiterate it right now, is everything I'm trying to build in this mock is to try to be to scale to the Star Wars spaceships. So they really do feel like they are to minifigure scale. So if we take Hogwarts as an example, with that mock, what I was trying to do is trying to capture the entirety of Hogwarts Castle, and everything was in proportion to each other. But realistically, for Hogwarts to be minifigure scale, it would have had to been like 2, 3, maybe even 4 times larger than it was. This is hopefully going to be fairly accurate to minifigure scale based on these ships. So the hangar doors for the main temple will fit a ship through it. The stairs that you have leading up to the tarmac are actually enough to get a small vehicle and several troops up from it. Now this tarmac is currently sitting 3 bricks up, and that's what I had initially decided I was going to do, and I am quite liking that. This is what it looks like from the side right here. It's just enough to give a little bit of heft to the mock and for me to be able to play with the levels, but it's not too big where I'm just randomly throwing away a lot of filler brick underneath this. I'm still undecided as to how I'm actually going to lay this all out, because it is a very big surface to work with. I mean, this is about the equivalent of maybe 1.5 gray base plates, and we've got about 10 of them to go through. So it's going to be quite parts intensive, and I am also aware that they're going to be, and this is very, very fragile, so I'm not going to try to break it, but I am also aware that a lot of the time it's going to look like that. You're not going to see underneath the Millennium Falcon, so there's not a lot of need to put a ton of details. So I am thinking that I'm going to be purchasing quite a lot of bulk pieces, 16 by 16 plates. These large tiles are looking awesome, so I'm happy with that. And if we kind of figure out where all the ships are going, those are probably be less detailed areas and bits that are exposed. That's where I'll work on actually putting details like stairs that go underneath, pipes that are coming up from the ground, etc., etc. In terms of the space here in front of this stairwell, so this is like the forest. This is how much I would give to the forest before we get into the tarmac. I think this is enough. I'm trying to strike a balance between you feeling like there is a forest, because with Hogwarts, and I know I don't want to keep coming back to this because that was my last mock. This is the next mock. With that one, we had a forbidden forest that was really just like 3 or 4 trees. Whereas this one, I really want to show off. I want to make sure you understand there is a jungle around this. So we have about 1 base plate before you hit some stairs, and then there will be a little bit of room that is pretty much level with the tarmac before it transitions out onto here. In terms of how I actually want to do this transition, we'll just use some of these for an example. I mean, I basically want everything to kind of be overlapping this tile, so we'll have wedge plates, tiles, lots of actual plant pieces that are on top of the actual tarmac, so that it looks a little bit more organic. Now, over on this side, all these sort of what I might call dead areas for right now, I haven't quite worked out what I'm going to be doing with that. But I want to be comfortable with basically saying, hey, this is just going to be forest. It's going to be a few trees, maybe some rocks, maybe a random stream, and we'll set up a skirmish with that. I don't want to pack every single base plate with something to look at, because after a while with this entire scale, it's going to be a little bit overwhelming. Here it is from another angle, and I know the sunlight right now is pouring in. It's great, but it's not the best for video. This is kind of what it's looking like from this side over here. If you can look off the mock, I think that's enough green, enough space for some trees to let this area breathe as well. And I'm imagining this whole docking area around the Millennium Falcon will have some of the repair ladders, crew members, all those little vehicles sort of running in and about it. And you can see basically from where the tip of the Millennium Falcon is, that's where the temple will start. So even though this thing is massive, we don't actually have that much space to work with. But anyhow, I'm going to shift my attention back to that area over there. I'm going to play around a little bit more in the same vein with working out how things might look like, and we're just going to keep going. We're just going to see how it looks. I don't want to put anything permanent down right now because I imagine I'm going to need a lot more pieces, a lot more specific pieces before it looks good, but we're just gonna continue on this side, starting over there. All right, guys, so as I did with Hogwarts, I'm back to the Xbox, playing around over here. We've got Battlefront 2 open right now, and instead of actually playing the game and trying to win the objective, I'm being really funny and just sort of like leaving all the teammates behind, and really just trying to explore the surroundings. So we're right here on Yavin 4, and this is the drop-off location for the Empire. And I'm really just trying to soak it all in and look at all the details that you would honestly just look right on by when you're playing the game. And just notice things like, for example, you're in water right here. It's kind of marshy. This area is a lot higher up than these ruins that you approach. And they're quite impressive as well. And they've got a slightly different coloring than the main temple. They're very overgrown with moss. You start looking at details of where exactly there's plant life growing, how are the steps built, etc., etc. And frankly, it's a ton of fun. And I'm really just trying to get a good idea of how this whole place is built up and, well, how it's laid out as well. I mean, if we can imagine this a little bit as a sort of architectural plan, can I try to put this to paper and see what it actually looks like? So I'm just going to keep playing around a little bit here, map out the forest, these ruins. It's not going to be exact. It's going to be more what I want to get away from it. And then the idea is hopefully we can translate it to this large green area over here. Before I continue in that section, I decided that I really want to see what are we going to do in this bit. And that might change what's going on over there. It probably won't, but I would really like to get a good start and visualize a little bit more how this is looking like. So in a little pause in the assault here, as I'm hoping that no one's going to sneak up on me, I'm coming across a lot of things like this. Just this little bunker, if you will, just built into the hill. And it's details like this that I frankly would normally just run right by, never look at twice. But I think that's what will add that sort of extra level of detail and interest into the mock. So I'm just keeping the lookout for things like that. Also trying, and I'm not really much of a plant species guy. I mean, that's definitely not the right word, but like, I don't know what kind of tree that is, but I'd like to figure out what it is so that I can try to rebuild it exactly and sort of understand the growth patterns, the heights, just general ecology of it all. In case you wondered what was going on in the foreground over here, I am watching the World Cup qualifiers. Scotland 1-0 up, might actually make it to the World Cup. Let's cross our fingers for any of you that are into football. All right, so a few cool things to show you. Obviously, we just took a look at the Battlefront 2 sort of gameplay going on there, and we were looking at this area where the Imperial dropship would land, and I've tried to recreate it here a little bit, very basically, to get an idea of if it would even fit here, if I have the space to do it, if it would look good with what I've got going on over there, because this is really feeling like its own mock almost. The amount of thought and detail that I'm imagining that will go into this makes it feel like it could stand on its own. And of course, the actual temple ruins and the whole context of the jungle is so different from what's going to be going on over there. So in many ways, it might actually be fun that there's this contrast between what's going on here in this corner, what's going on over there in that corner. But we will just go in a little bit more detail. I made a very bad looking prototype of that temple, and it's a little bit downsized. I think it would be slightly bigger than this, especially in depth, but I do think this is an approximate sort of sizing, something to work with, definitely. And I'm kind of liking how it looks. So I've lined it up at 45 degrees with the corner here, and now technically that won't line up over there because it's a rectangle, so it's kind of shooting where the TIE fighter is. But I do quite like it. I do really quite like it. What I'm thinking is, and I'll just take the dropship off, what I'm thinking is that this corner over here will be elevated probably about 5, 6 bricks, significantly higher than the rest of the mock. And over here, we are definitely going to be doing that sort of marshy, watery area that we just saw in the clip, where everyone is landing. We'll have some stormtroopers running through. It could be quite cool to try to make some little splashes and such as they're running towards the gates. And then we have these 2 stairs that jut down to the entrance here of the tunnel, or the temple rather, and there's a little gathering space over there. In terms of what we're going on over here on the sides, I thought that we could either go right to the edge and it kind of just be a sheer drop with some rock, or we could smooth it down. So that'll really turn out as we further develop this, but it could just gently slope down into the forest over here. You can also hear how squeaky the floor is. So please just ignore that. And maybe it's rocky on that side, sloped on this side, who knows. But I do think that this area is working, and you can see how much space it's already taking up. So in terms of making this whole mock modular, this whole section, or rather this whole section, I'm thinking could come as one piece. So it's 4 regular base plates, 2 half base plates. So everything I'm doing is I'm trying as much as I can to make sure that everything is in small chunks, because I will thank myself for that later. As for this side over here, I'm thinking that we're going to have another one of those staircases that's over there, just over here, leading up onto the tarmac. And this is probably going to be the most central one. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on in this zone over here, and then it quietens down on this side. So here is where there will be mostly just normal jungle forest. Just to give some context, there's going to be a fairly sizable trail coming down to the edge of the base plate, and I'm thinking on this staircase, because we have a little bit more room to work with, is where I might build an AT-ST and have it clambering up the stairs and out here onto the main tarmac area. I think that could be quite a cool scene, have a lot of rebels shooting it down and such. And then perhaps, and we'll have to think about this, but over in this area we could have some more of the old ruins, so to try to tie this bit in so it doesn't feel completely by itself, we'll have something over there in that corner that you might see elsewhere in the game. And then as for over here, we've not done too much, but I have put in a little indication of that bunker that I was just talking about a few minutes ago. I think that could be a really cool place for it. Maybe we can have a fun Easter egg that you see from the back, so make sure to leave some suggestions of what that might be, and we'll get around to that whenever we start actually building. Next thing I want to talk about are these things right here. So these are technically classified as bricks. This is a 10 by 20 brick, and by how yellow it is, you guys can sort of tell, and well, by the bottom you can tell how old this is. But the great thing about it is how cheap they are as well. Now, not every seller, but if you find some that are selling about 5 of them, and you find enough sellers, say 10 sellers, these are selling for about 5 cents each, which is crazy, because if you just try to find a 16 by 16 brick that size, they're selling for about $2, £2-ish each. So this is significantly cheaper to do. Now, one of the main problems that it might have, as you can see, is that there's no actual studs on the bottom. But thankfully there are versions, ta-da, like this one, which do, only around the edge. But it could definitely work. And I just realized I haven't explained why I'm talking about these bricks. For the whole tarmac area, as we've discussed before, it's going to be quite a lot of plates, bricks, whatever, to cover this entire thing. And well, for the bits like this under the Millennium Falcon, it can be just very large plates and such, because you're not going to see it. And I think for the large part, this tarmac will be full of, you know, big tiles like this, big plates like this, because I just need it. Not everything needs to be really busy, and they frankly do work, but there are a lot of places throughout this that need to have very specific details on them, or perhaps even just it's as simple as I want to add a little some cracking in the tarmac and the pavement, or I want to put some arrows on the ground, or etc. I can tile on these, and well, because right now what we have is 3 bricks and then the plate level or the tile level, this will take up the job of the second or the third brick, sorry. So we'll have 2 bricks, and then this will be the third brick, and it'll be at the same level as this. And so you can build tiles right on top of it, and it will be flush with the rest of it. So everything will be flat, and you'll never know that some of it is huge bricks like this, and that some of it is just large plates. In terms of how I might actually get these bricks to hook on, very simple. As you can see here, I've just got tiles on top, but the reason being, if I can get this loose, there we go, is, okay, so there's nothing on the bottom, but if it just sort of sits on some other bricks and you just use the tiles to hook the bricks together, then as one sort of cohesive piece, it's solid. And that's basically my methodology, or my method rather, for how I might plaster this entire thing for cheap. So I actually just figured this out today because I was really trying to research, go on Bricklink, find what is the cheapest way to plaster this entire thing. And it's these old bricks. There's a 10 by 20 size. There is a 12 by 24, which is even better. And there are some 8 by 16s as well, but these are definitely the cheapest. And if you're okay with getting them in random colors like yellow and bright blue and such, then, well, that might be the method. Okay, then we've done enough explaining. So for the remainder of the video, let's actually get some building done. We're going to refocus back over here, and we're going to sort of experiment with what I think it's going to look like. I'm going to play around with different parts usage, and generally we're just going to try to get an idea of what parts we're going to be needing for the rest of the mock, and if I'm liking the aesthetic that I've got in my mind. So let's jump right into it.
Stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time.
Well, I hope you liked those little time lapses there. Had a lot of fun working on this section over here. You can see how it's completely transformed from these blank base plates into something that can really start to show the life of what Yavin might look like. So I was, of course, focusing on this central section that leads up to that little stairwell that goes up to the main tarmac, and I was really trying to experiment here with a little bit of a different technique that I came across at last year's Edinburgh convention, in fact. And it was really just about designing everything as sort of like topographical layers, almost like a contour map, if you will. So it's flat, contour, flat, contour, and then in each layer you really go ham with mixing in tiles, wedges, plates, and in small patches it's not really effective, but when you stand back and you look at a fairly sizable bit like this, it has a real gravitas to it. I love how it's turned out, and what it means is that you can have sections that are entirely one color, but they don't look boring because there's such a mix of textures going on over here. I did, of course, start sprinkling in a lot of these fern pieces here, and I must say, with very little effort, that they actually add a lot to the scene here. And I'll give sort of a overhead shot. You can see what we're looking like as we sort of merge into this. I've tried to make a very like distressed staircase little over here, kind of tie into that ruin. So ideally what would happen is that this structure here that we were talking about earlier in the video would have quite a similar aesthetic to this, and I'm thinking olive green as an accent color would work great in all of this. And as you can see, as it steps up to the tarmac, we were using one of these large 10 by 20 bricks, those ones down there that we were talking about earlier. So you might have seen that in the time lapse, and that allows us to add a lot of detail in the tiles, and it meshes perfectly with the larger ones over here. We've gone ahead and just created a sort of Battlefront 2-esque scene here with the Empire and the rebels fighting it off with a U-wing there. And I even went and put an A-wing just on some clear stilts right there. Now, I do think it would be fantastic to have a lot of flying ships as well as just ones landing or just parked on the actual tarmac. I'm not exactly sure if that's the method I would use to do it, because it's a little bit flat, it's a little bit boring. I would really like if they could be at an angle, but that can definitely be worked out just by altering the height of the bricks, maybe using some hinges here and there. We'll definitely have to play around with it. But I'm really liking how this turned out. If this were to be translated to the other staircase that I intend on doing over there, and then the rest of the sort of jungle scenery and the transition into the tarmac, I think this looks amazing. I'm really loving it. You just have to let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or if you think I am really in my own head right now. Of course, the trees stolen from Hogwarts, those will have to change. They'll look very different. I think we're going to go with a much thicker tree trunk, and then it's going to have a lot of vines and different curving branches. Now, you may have noticed that I pretty much isolated most of the building to this central walkway over here, and that I haven't really touched the actual forest, and that's because I want to take my time and really figure that out. I don't want to rush any of this. I want to make sure it looks perfect. I want to try to keep this same methodology of how I've basically structured all of this, but I also want some contrast. So while the main path is perhaps quite flat and quite neutral in terms of the variety of colors or something, maybe the actual forest floor has a little bit more bulk, a little bit more variety to it. So we're going to have to play around with that in weeks to come. Now, of course, that means that we didn't get quite onto the bunker, but never fear, I have a very good idea for that, and especially an even better idea of how to bring it to life. And that segues perfectly into something that I would like to reveal to all of you guys that I've been holding on for months now, and it's really going to completely change this mock. So I'm super excited to share with you guys that for this mock series, I have partnered up with an amazing light up company, Game of Bricks, to bring this mock to life with some light up kits. Now, this company, guys, amazing. They do light up kits for both sets and custom DIY sets so that you can use it for your own dioramas like Yavin is about to be. And I can just imagine the possibilities of how we are going to introduce lighting into a bunker, into the main temple, into some of the ships, into lanterns along the paths. This is going to take my mock building to the next level. I can just see it right now, and hopefully you guys do as well. We're going to have a daytime scene. We're going to have nighttime scenes. We're going to have lit up, flickering explosions. We're going to have engine lights in the sky. We're going to have sounds. And the better bit is that you guys can share in all of this as well, because I have an affiliate link for all of you guys, a 25% off discount for any of you that use my personal code BRICK25 on the Game of Bricks website. You can use it for any product like the one I have here, which I will be revealing next week and introducing into this mock. But please go ahead, check out Game of Bricks, get a set for yourself, and maybe transform one of your Lego kits. Bring it to life, take a Lego set, put some lights into it, or maybe you want to introduce it into your own mock. So yeah, get that 25% off next week. That is going to be a big focus of ours. I cannot wait. So thank you so much to Game of Bricks for sending this product over, and I cannot wait to get started on it next week. Just to reiterate for you guys who might be more curious about this, Game of Bricks do ship worldwide and they have excellent customer service. So no matter where you are, you can all benefit from this. Now, one of the big things for me that has been sort of keeping me away from lighting systems is not necessarily how complicated they are, but really how expensive they are. And I've been trying my hardest to find an affordable way to introduce lighting into my Lego, and I think I've done it. So stay tuned for next week's video, because that's going to be a fun one. So that's going to do it for week 2 of building Yavin 4 in Lego. I'm really happy with the progress we were able to get done. We did quite a lot this week. We kind of first started out with basically addressing how we're going to be structuring this entire build. We started out with the tarmac over here, elevating it, getting to visualize it a little bit more. And then of course we ended off with a time lapse of this section over here. And then please make sure to go down into the comments and let me know what you think. Is this a style that I should be taking forward? But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.